Drake, I've got a hot take. Maybe it's not so hot of a take, but I think that UCF might be set up for the most long-term success out of maybe any Big 12 team. You talk about recruiting ground, being in the state of Florida, the largest alumni base, and a head coach that I don't think views the job as a stepping stone. But I want you to tell me why I'm both right about that and wrong about that.
Oh my gosh. I love UCF. I love Gus Malzahn at UCF too. Do I think he's the answer in 5 years? TJ, no. That's maybe the downside that I'll give you. I don't believe that Gus Malzahn is the lifer at UCF that can lead them to the pinnacle of college football. However, the next 3 years, a guy who has coached the top levels of the SEC, who has won a national championship as a coordinator, been there as a head coach, he is a great mediator to bring them into a power conference. An example I'll give, Dana Holgorsen at Houston sucked. Terrible. His press conferences were, well, what do you expect? It's our first year in a power conference. And you can't have that guy. Gus Malzahn wants to compete right now in the Big 12, and he can do so because he's in Orlando, Florida. You fly a recruit out to Orlando, he's going to love it. I no knock on Morgantown, no knock on Ames, Iowa, no knock on Lubbock, Texas. Those are places that I think are very valuable college towns. But this kid who comes from inner city Miami, who visits Ames, Iowa versus Orlando, Florida, I can probably tell you where he's going to side with. And that goes into the conversation of Florida being such a recruiting juggernaut. That's the best high school talent in the country. And the Big 12 is a conference that is built on high school talent. You need to recruit the 3- and 4-star overlooked guys out of a saturated state like Florida to be able to win in the Big 12. And UCF can do it because it's their backyard. The transfer portal has become so prevalent at the top ends of the SEC and the Big 10. The Big 12 wants to be a little bit different, recruit the high school ranks and develop. If you want to do so, Florida's not a bad spot to do it.
How good can UCF truly be this year? Win total sitting at 8.5 in a loaded Big 12. I don't know that they're ready to compete for a playoff spot just yet, but 9-10 wins certainly makes that sell that you were talking about for Gus Malzahn even more intriguing.
Yeah, the problem with the Big 12 this season is try to separate UCF and Iowa State. Try to separate UCF and Arizona, who's still got a lot coming back. Try to separate them from West Virginia. There are about 7 teams in this middle category of the conference that all have a shot to go to the Big 12 championship on that kind of backdoor their way in because the meat of that league. I believe that Utah is going to vie for a championship in the Big 12. I think that Kansas State is up there and that Kansas is also up there. For a UCF, their best case scenario to me is winning 8 or 9 games. It's a step up. Last season, they were the only new Big 12 team to go to a bowl. Everybody else kind of faltered. But they do have Utah on their schedule. They go on the road against West Virginia. I could see them dropping a game on the road against Arizona State, who's got dangerous pieces. So this season for UCF, give me a best case scenario of them going 8, 9 wins and proving they belong in a power conference, can win at a power conference. I just don't see. I think there are too many, again, coin flip games for them to be a Big 12 championship caliber program.
KJ Jefferson transfers in and had pretty good success at times at an Arkansas team and program that, man, I don't know how they're still keeping their heads above water with their coach still alive. But what are your thoughts on what KJ may be able to do here in the Big 12?
As long as Danny Nose, the Arkansas offensive coordinator, former, stays as far away from possible from Orlando, then we should be okay. Gus Malzahn having the keys to KJ Jefferson is special. That is look at John Rice Plumlee, who fit UCF so well. KJ Jefferson is that plus some. I mean, you take the kid in John Rice Plumlee who had all the intangibles of what UCF wanted in a quarterback, the mobility, the arm, and make it KJ Jefferson. He is overlooked right now as a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12. I say that. I see a lot of people who are like, yeah, he's probably the 8th or 9th best QB in the league. And I get it. Noah Fafita is here, and Daniel's at Kansas, and there's Cam Rising at Utah. But I believe that KJ Jefferson's going to shock a lot of people. Dude's got a big body. He's a gamer. I watched him play live. The last time I saw him was when Arkansas played Kansas in the Liberty Bowl, and he made people look stupid. He made other players look puny, small, and bad because of how naturally gifted he is and how strong he is. He's going to walk into the Big 12. He is a competitor. He wants to win his last year of college football and to put himself in the best spot for the NFL draft. I think KJ Jefferson's being overlooked, and he's going to be a juggernaut. Tough to bring down at UCF.
His ceiling is incredibly high,
so.
And I feel like he could have, again, they're talking about Shedeur, and they're talking about Fafita, and they're talking about all these guys. And
notice that I missed Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah,
How could I? Deion's going to kill me.
The quarterback play truly is out there, but man, right. I think things are set up well for KJ Jefferson to have a really good year, especially considering who he's playing under. I think he could be really, really good for the Knights this year. UCF goes to the Swamp, one of their big out-of-conference games that they've got this year. I mean, Florida's just a dumpster fire, and I don't know how tuned in you are with everything going on there under Napier, but is that
Napier? Napier's still there?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing?
Is that your out-of-conference Big 12 matchup of the year?
That reminds me, mid-season especially. I mean, this is an October game. This is not a first weekend. Let's go out there. You know, Penn State and West Virginia are going to tell us a lot very early on, but this is – I'm going to go back to Arkansas and KJ Jefferson. I circled this one as that game that the Hogs came down and won in the Swamp, and you were like, oh, why did that happen? Both these teams suck. Both right. So I think that UCF's got a real good chance to go to Florida early October, sneak out a win, and maybe end Billy Napier's contract right then and there. Have that be the defining game that Napier gets fired from Florida. Clip that. Wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if Gus Malzahn's able to do that. Look, again, he's been in the SEC, has that prowess, has an SEC quarterback underneath him. Florida truly is a dumpster fire as it sits. I've got UCF winning that game by 10 points, 31. I know I'm already predicting points, and it's in May right now, but 31-21. I just don't see Florida being competitive this year, even against a UCF.
He didn't coach in it, but the very first game that happened after Billy Napier was hired was Florida against UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl in Raymond James Stadium, about 30 minutes from my house. It would be pretty fitting if they were the one to end the tenure as well. We'll see. That's a pretty bold prediction, so I'll save that as your bold prediction for UCF, giving us points here in May. But where can people find you?
Give me the bold prediction of 9 wins for UCF.
9 wins. Bump it up one. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you for all Big 12 coverage?
At Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts, and at Drake C. Toll on Twitter.